Well, actually, we're going to get a chance to talk about VANTIQ during the workshops and the one-on-ones, so I'm actually not going to talk too much about VANTIQ, but what I'm going to talk about here is, I think, a great segue off of the panel and some of the discussions that happened last night. So I'm Blaine Mathieu, Chief Product and Marketing Officer at VANTIQ, and we're going to talk about this real-time digital transformation, really continuing exactly what we were just hearing about. Yeah, before I get in, I just have to say I really love these Engage events, and as Phil said, I've been following him around through the US and Canada this year doing these things, because it's as much a learning experience for me, and I know for the folks at VANTIQ and the other sponsors and vendors, as it is for us sharing stuff with you. So I've learned an incredible amount this year, and I'm sort of sad this is actually our last Engage event of the year. But I know in the next day and a half that we have together, we're going to have a great time. And inevitably, by the end of these events, we're all friends. We're drinking in the bar at night. Everybody knows everybody else. And I've already met 5 or 6 folks from previous Engage events in the audience. So hi, folks. So let's dive right in. So this is really, I think, the segue slide from the previous panel that you were listening to, and some of the stuff that happened yesterday. And it's about how business is fundamentally shifting. We're, as IT professionals, trying to serve this fundamental shift in business. And we just talked about some of the trends and technologies. I'm glad I didn't put blockchain up there, because I believe blockchain, I agree with the guys, it's mostly hype right now. But there's, we're struggling to think of interesting use cases that the technology could actually serve. But these things, IoT, machine learning, they aren't hype, they are reality, as you just heard. Edge computing is still a little bit in the science experiment phase, but driven by the plethora of data that's now being pushed in and around organizations. It just cannot possibly be handled all in the cloud, all in a central location. It has to be managed and processed first on the edge, and then some makes it into the cloud. So we're going to be hit by more and more edge computing projects in the next 4 or 5 years, no doubt about it. And so some of the business model shifts that we're seeing are drivers of this transformation, or the shift from selling products to providing outcomes, right? Many of your clients don't want to buy a thing anymore, right? They want to buy the result of that thing or the result of that service. And in fact, they are buying it as a service, right? They're not paying a one-time fee for that, but they're renting jet engine power by the hour, right? As GE is doing. I see we've got some fun there. We talked in the previous panel about virtual reality and augmented reality. Digital twins is becoming a very hot topic in our enterprises these days, and the fact that we're now not replacing the physical world with the virtual world, but certainly joining the two together so that the virtual world can make what we do in the real world that much stronger and more powerful. And then finally, and I see this as the sort of Uber theme, and it was talked about in the discussion last night, moving to a world of real time. And it's unfortunate I had to play planes, trains, and automobiles yesterday, leaving California, avoiding the smoke, so I missed Ken's presentation on the real-time agile enterprise. Ken, we got to catch up on that. I can't quite see with the lights here. But oh, there we go, Ken. But fundamentally, I believe most of the transformative business models that are coming and potentially disrupting any legacy organizations are about taking the way that business was done through numerous batch processes and turning it into real time. And now we get to have a drinking game, because I'm going to put up an Uber slide. So everybody grab your glass, take a drink. As the last panel said, Uber, Facebook, Amazon, whenever we talk about one of those things, we have to grab a shot. But fundamentally, what Uber did to the taxi business is they turned it from a supremely inefficient batch process. You phoned up a person in a call center and they put you on the list, and eventually, hopefully, you got a taxi, to a real-time business based on the instant knowledge of the status and location of drivers, of potential clients, and of actual clients that are being driven around, all orchestrated in real time to create the most efficient system possible, totally disrupting a multi-billion-dollar worldwide industry, and on and on and on again. Even something like Amazon is about real time, because Amazon knows in real time, or is able to even predict before you get to the website what you're going to want to see, what you're going to want to buy, how you're going to want to buy it. They've turned even shopping into a real time, even more than real time, by sending you stuff before you even ask for it, by allowing you to subscribe to goods. So real time is a huge driver of digital transformation. By the way, there's some discussion again in the previous panel about, well, what does DX, digital transformation, mean, and what could it mean for my organization? And even though I'm a former Gartner analyst from way back, I'll give a plug to IDC that has a really great practice around digital transformation. And what they've done, they've got a whole service of analysts that do nothing but help enterprises and businesses figure out what digital transformation could mean for them. And they've created a database of 780 some use cases. Each use case detailing what is the nature of this digital transformation, what will be the impact on your organization, what technologies will you need to be able to take advantage of this transformation. You can see it's by industry and also by area of the business. So a great resource, and you can find a lot of the stuff on their website. Actually, of course, much of it is behind a firewall, but you can see some of it as well open to the public. Definitely worth looking into. If you're in one of these industries and you're trying to figure out, okay, I know we have to do something, but what do we actually do? Here's almost 800 ideas for things you could do to transform your business. And I will say, because I've analyzed these and we use these with many of our clients, probably half of these use cases are fundamentally about doing something in real time, something that used to be done in batch or used to be done by putting stuff into a database and then running a report and doing something later, now being done in real time. Smart manufacturing, smart cities, all these things are fundamentally real-time use cases, so check out the IDC thing. Okay, great, so lots of use cases, lots of things to do, but when I'm in your shoes as a CIO or head of IT, you've got tremendous challenges, right? Everything is everywhere. It's the fog. Now, I was speaking at a Fog World conference a couple of weeks ago. Nobody actually knows what the fog means, but they sure know it's a challenge and they got to do something with it very soon, you know, or else. So you've got everything everywhere. All this technology is coming faster and faster and faster at us as technologists, right? Then there's our people. Like, this is sort of a technology conference, but fundamentally a lot of what we're trying to figure out is how to involve our people in these powerful transformations, how to use machines and systems to make our people more efficient and effective. It's not about turning our organizations into lights-out businesses, right? It's about how do we make our systems more efficient and effective with people. And then finally, you folks have been building legacy applications in your enterprises, or building or buying or customizing for the last 3 or 4 decades now, and you can't just throw all that out, right? You have to be able to do something with it. So your challenge is to bring it all together, right? I guess that's your brain there, trying to figure out, what do I do with this? How can I sense what's going on in and around my business, analyze it in real time as all of this stuff is interacting and flowing and happening, and then take actions? It's not just about real-time analytics. It's not just about dancing charts and graphs on a screen showing the state of a system. That's cool to get a real-time sense of what's going on. But digital transformation is about being able to take the actions, right? That's where the real power comes. It's about sensing, analyzing, and then acting. So how do you do it? Well, you probably don't do it this way. This way is your standard 3-tier request-response application that we've been building and using and buying for the last few decades. For certain types of systems, ERP, BI, CRM systems, it's perfectly fine. Take data, again, put it in a database. Whenever you're ready, when a request is made, you run a report, do a query, pull some data back out, and then somebody looks at the report on the screen or on paper. That's fundamentally okay for certain types of applications. But I will tell you that most transformative business models are not based on technology like this, right? If you're trying to build a real-time business, you're not building it with a foundation of 3-tier request-response technology. So that's not it. So what is it? Well, the solution is something that the analysts and others are calling real-time event-driven applications. And at a high level, what does that mean? It means you've got all this data flowing in and around your organization. It could be from IoT devices, sensors. The previous panel talked about facial recognition systems, lots of data flowing in from devices and sensors. But it could also be from your business systems, from your legacy enterprise applications. A PO was approved in SAP. That's a data flow, right? Of course, it's your people doing things on mobile devices. And this data are about the events that are happening in and around your business, right? The status of system, machines, and people, the location of things. As I said, POs being approved in enterprise systems. These are all events that could have some meaning. And what you need to do is to be able to analyze, process those events in real time. You know, some of you know the term complex event processing, but take all these events in. And then, of course, the system that takes those events in as they're flowing has to have some context. You have to have some rules. Maybe you're applying some machine learning algorithms to that data as it's flowing in to do some predictions. But you need to know if the data is in a good state, oh, I don't have to do anything, or there's a problem, I need to take an action. You do that by understanding the context. And then finally, there are the actions, right? You move something, you change something, you reassign something, you approve something, right? Those are the actions. And this is not a simple left to right flow because, of course, the actions are also events. So as soon as you take an action, it changes the state of the system, and then you have to continue to do it all over again. So actions are also events. So this is the fundamental foundation of an Uber application, or an Amazon system, or virtually any transformative application today is built along lines like this. And it's not just, of course, me saying this. Gartner, for those that are Gartner subscribers, I highly recommend you type event-driven architectures into your Gartner search box, and you'll see they've done a lot of writing on this topic in the last year. They say that fundamentally, if you're a CIO driving a transformative change in your business, you must have event-driven, be thinking about how you can have event-driven architectures at your core. In fact, Gartner released about a year ago their 2018 top 10 technology trends, and event-driven architectures was number 7 or number 8 on the top 10 list. Just a few weeks ago, they released their 2019 top 10 technology trends. Event-driven architectures wasn't on the list anymore. I gave it a quick scan. I was like, what happened? The world is changing. What happened to event-driven architectures? It's because 6 of the 10 technology trends in 2019 talk about how event-driven architectures are an enabler of that trend. So they're not calling it out as a separate trend anymore. They just take it for granted that this way of building and running applications is just inside everything you're doing for your forward-looking applications and systems. Really interesting. So to dive maybe one level deeper into a real-world example, so imagine you're running the field service operation, trying to keep 10,000 air conditioners across China up and running. By the way, the average commercial HVAC unit has 200 sensors on it, right? Putting out tons of data in real time about the state of that system, of that unit. And so what you've got is all that event data coming off those air conditioners at an increasing rate of speed and flow, and it can't all be processed centrally. It has to be processed on the edge. So in this case, the vendor has got gateways or edge devices that are taking data at the building level or at the neighborhood level and processing it. Of course, most of the time, the AC unit is fine. Nothing has to happen. The processing just basically says, system okay, don't need to keep the data, don't need to put it in a database. You know, the event-driven applications aren't fundamentally about taking all this data and storing it in a database. It's about processing it and only deciding what's important. When it does find there's something important, it communicates to the master application. Could be on-prem, could be in the cloud on top of AWS or Azure, it doesn't matter. These applications can run anywhere. And that's where you supplement with some external data sources. So in this case, the vendor has a database of 5,000 contractors, not employees, but external contractors who have the potential ability to service these units. And when it detects there's a problem with a unit, it then knows the geolocation of the contractors, finds the 3 closest ones that are qualified to address that particular problem, not a generic problem like in field service today. You submit a ticket, the guy gets to the machine, and oh, I don't even have the right parts, right? In this case, you know exactly what the problem with the machine is. You know who the right person is to bring to it. You poll the 3 closest people. When one accepts the job, they're taken to the machine in real time. Now, as they're going to the machine, keep in mind that what might happen is, you know, the piece of paper that was blocking the inlet valve blows off, and all of a sudden the temperature of the system goes back down. And so again, in real time, you can tell that person, oh, system okay now, we don't need you any longer, and you can reassign them or cancel the order. Imagine how efficient that process is, how much time and money, fundamentally how transformative that process is versus the way most field service is done today. Hello, Comcast, yeah, next Tuesday, okay. That's not digital transformation. So I talked about field service, but this notion of using these technologies and these processes to rethink how many different kinds of business operations are done can really be applied to, you know, any industry, any area. We talked about field service already. Real-time supply chain, understanding the flow of goods, not only goods but even services into your organization and then out of it again if you're a manufacturer. Real-time logistics, fleet management, whether you're, you know, a city, a campus, a large enterprise, you've got cars, you've got machines that need to be tracked. Some of these, this may feel like it's IoT, but they're not all IoT. We work with a number of clients in financial services where there's no IoT at all. It's about taking flows of event data off other enterprise software systems, right, that are maybe disconnected, that aren't working together effectively and efficiently, and orchestrating how they fundamentally work together in a much more powerful way. So many, many use cases, and we're going to talk more about some of these use cases in the workshop sessions later. So what are the elements that make up a platform to enable real-time event-driven applications? Well, at its core, you need to be able to do that real-time event processing that I talked about earlier. Of course, the applications and the platform that supports them needs to be mission critical, right? Security always at the top of every CIO's mind, and you can't architect security in later. This is why POCs scare me sometimes. You know, POCs are generally built as quick and dirty, insecure applications. And then when you go to try to turn the POC into a real application, it's hard to go back after and put security in, right? So think about a way to do POCs that are secure from the get-go, okay? I think that's really important. The one that's actually not on here is dynamic. And what that means is if you're running your real-time global supply chain or your field service operation or your manufacturing organization, you can't take your event-driven application down for 2 hours while you push out an update. That doesn't make sense, right? Your system has to be always on, always available, and you can stream updates to the system just like the system can handle the data streaming into it. So dynamic is critical as well. We talked a little bit about edge computing and the ability to run these applications everywhere. Again, I think edge computing is, well, I know for a fact it's still what I'd call in the science fair phase. But by 2020, Gartner predicts that 40% of enterprises will have edge computing applications in production by 2020. Sounds like a long way off, but 2020 is actually not that far off, right? Human-machine collaboration. So again, I talked at the beginning about how we use these systems to, in many cases, fundamentally make people more efficient and effective, more productive, augmenting, you know, the intelligence, the wisdom, the experience of people, not just necessarily replacing them. Who can tell me what this is a picture of? Anybody? Yell it out. Whose assembly line? This is Tesla. Tesla's Model 3 line. So Tesla, the company that was going to turn lights out on the manufacturing line and have a bunch of intelligent robots, you know, revolutionize how cars are manufactured. Well, I see a few robots there. I see a hell of a lot of people in that picture too, right? Because, you know, the grand vision was to figure out how to replace all those people and literally make the Model 3 line a lights-out assembly line. They quickly realized that the most efficient way to actually get these cars out was to have people and intelligent systems working together, and that's what they're doing right now. So human-machine collaboration is a really critical and important theme. And I guess how that applies to any platform you choose to build or run applications on is it should have the ability to build connections into systems, whether they're, of course, mobile devices and web UIs, but increasingly, augmented reality systems and other systems that are coming up so that you're not stuck with old, inefficient ways of people communicating and interacting with systems. Natural language processing is another one, which is coming on very strong. Everybody's got little headsets, and to be able to talk to a system when your hands are busy, doing something, servicing something, carrying something, is very powerful, right? All right. Then finally, this last one about so-called low-code, no-code. Gartner calls it high productivity application platforms. This is really important. So companies have been building and organizations have been building event-driven real-time applications for decades, actually. Airport control systems and lots of applications, banking are real-time mission-critical systems. The challenge, though, it is very hard to build these things. And the reason it's hard is all the things we've just been talking about. You've got these asynchronous events flowing in any order. It's not just simple business process management where you have A, then B, then C, then D happens, right? You might have A kick off a process, B might never happen, you get 3 Cs. What do you do with the C if no B, right? Well, that's fundamentally what so-called reactive event-driven applications are all about. They don't have to be standard process flows from beginning to end. The data is streaming in at increasing rates of speed in real time. Of course, increasingly it's to the edge, to an edge system, so building edge-capable distributed computing, again, sounds very complex, and it is. And then finally, I talk about people. People are the worst or best, depending on how you look at it, generators of asynchronous, event-driven data that you can imagine, right? If you want to mess up a nice process flow, just put people in the mix, and then everything is going to get more complicated, right? So it's very hard to build these things. And the answer, again, according to IDC and Gartner and actually and a bunch of others, is finally now we're at the point of evolution in these platforms where you can apply the principles of low-code, no-code application development that have been around for a couple of decades now, right? The ability to visual application design, drag and drop, abstracting away the complexity. And that's great, and those principles and methods have been well developed, but up to now they've really only been applied to the notion of these 3-tier database-centric request-response applications, building them rapidly. And we're finally getting to the point now where that concept of low-code, no-code rapid app development is now being applied to the area of reactive, real-time, event-driven applications, enabling folks like you or your partners, if necessary, to build these kind of applications quickly and more easily than imagined. So, the current way we're building these kind of applications, this is just one sort of hypothetical example, but by bringing together a bunch of tools, a bunch of technologies, very complex Kafka and Cassandra and Nephi and all these real-time tools that you fundamentally have to become gurus in to use, or you can bring in some very expensive gurus to help you. Or again, you can apply the principles of low-code rapid app development to this notion and have all that complexity abstracted away. I think even if you have the money to hire these teams of gurus in all these different domains and technologies to build these and deploy and maintain these kind of systems, because it's not about just the build, right? It's a continuous gift that keeps on giving. Even if you're here from SAP or Dell and you've got the money to do it, you do not have the time to do it anymore, right? The speed of business is moving too fast. The disruptors are coming to eat your lunch in weeks or months, not years. You don't have the time, so the difference is truly dramatic. I think this is my last slide here, and then we'll have time for a few questions. So I know most of you are organization enterprises. I prepared this slide for a Smart City conference I was at a couple of weeks ago. But the concept is exactly the same, whether you're a city with numerous applications that need to run together, or whether you're an enterprise with numerous departments and systems that need to connect together. So imagine that you're a city, you've got your public works department, and you've built an application to do real-time field service of city facilities and equipment, sort of the use case I talked about before. And some of the event data streams flowing into it are the location of your field service personnel in real time, meter readings from natural gas and water meters and city lights, the status of parking meters, traffic lights. And based on that real-time field service application you quickly build, you actually create another stream of data, another event stream that comes out of that system that notes the field service actions in process, okay, in your city. Now, the city police also have an application. They're doing facility security, right, for the parking lots and the buildings that belong to the city. They're also using the parking meter status event stream. And this gets into the fact that once you start to go down this road of building these event-driven applications, you can rapidly speed up by not building them as silos, but thinking for ways you can integrate and reuse these event streams, these event data sources across various applications. So we're sharing the parking meter status event stream, and now we've also got building security cameras, Amber Alerts, police location, street lights, and this application puts off 3 more event streams of its own. A notification of unauthorized vehicles in a parking lot, unauthorized people in buildings, and a record of police actions in progress. So now imagine that a third department comes along. In this case, it's the transportation department. They want to do real-time, efficient traffic rerouting if there's a problem somewhere. So what is it going to do? Well, the great position it's in now is it can reuse these existing data streams that have been used by these other applications. The city has, call it a catalog, an event catalog, right, which allows them to keep track and reuse all these event streams across their different applications. Think about how powerful this is now becoming for the city. The transportation department can quickly create a new application connecting into existing data sources, some of which were created by these other applications. And then, of course, the transportation department creates some new data streams of its own. The status of transportation personnel, and real-time streaming notifications of street closures in progress. And of course, those could be used by other applications. So once you really get humming on this notion of building these event-driven applications, think of them not as separate individual siloed, but start small and then eventually build and connect these things together very quickly, can become very powerful. So we've got a few minutes left for questions. I'll just build this out. We've got a couple minutes left for questions. In the breakout room there, we are actually going to show the building security use case. So we're going to dive into that in more detail, show you what that application could look like, and show you actually how you would build it rapidly. So we'll dive into that in a little more detail. So we do have a few minutes for questions. Please.
Yes. Thank you.
You mentioned the difference in moving from batch to real time and all this event-driven type of stuff, but you also talked about multi-platform, cloud, edge,
Yeah.
On-prem. Is there still an aspect of batch and real time, or is everything real time? So from the edge, it's always real time. It's not batched.
Thank you. A really great question. So I've been talking about, building and running real-time applications, but in many cases, of course, these applications are sitting alongside and working with non-real-time applications, right? With systems that, of course, there are still some types of data you want to put in a database. You want to be able to run a report of what happened last month or last year. So yes, absolutely, these systems often work, and in almost every single case, they work together with each other. There's no such thing as a standalone system anymore. That's part of the point. Great question. Thanks for highlighting that.
Thanks for sharing that with us. Learned a lot more about low code and event processing. You mentioned that it's a paradigm shift, right? And it's obviously happening at the technology level, but it's also happening at the business level. So if I'm talking to my business colleagues, what am I listening for that suggests that there's potentially some real-time application that's going to give me a competitive advantage?
Well, I'll tell you all, thanks, Isaac, and And by the way, we do a video and podcast series called VANTIQ TV. You can go to vantiqtv.com, which is about digital transformation, the real-time enterprise. Isaac's episode of VANTIQ TV is actually being released tomorrow. So you can check it out and see Isaac and I having a conversation on this topic. But so now that I forgot your question now. It was such a great intro on VANTIQ TV, very, very quickly.
So what are we listening for to know that
right,
there's
right. Thank you. Here's the dirty little secret. We love coming to the Engage events because you guys are a great audience and the format of them is the best in the industry, these close one-on-ones and discussions that we have. But most of the selling VANTIQ does, most of the marketing we do, when I wear my Chief Marketing Officer hat, is actually to the LOB side, not to the IT side. And the reason is the LOB side are the ones that are saying, yes, yes, we need this now. We need to transform our operations, manufacturing, field service, supply chain, whatever it is. We need to fundamentally change our business, and we want it now, and we want it fast. And like you saw on the panel this morning in some of the slides, they generally see IT as not the organization of speed and agility, right? And so absolutely, this is about organizational change, and in fact, it's why in many cases things move faster when we talk to the LOB side, the business side, versus the IT side. And I think that fundamentally has to change. It has to change. Like if I'm a CIO of an organization and I'm not on the side of helping the so-called business side, we're all in the business, right? If you're not helping the business transform rapidly, then that's not the position any of you want to be in. So absolutely, these issues are fundamentally about the business and the technology working together in concert. And I guess my parting challenge for you is to lead that, really lead that. Go back to the business with these ideas for ways that you can truly speed up, make more agile, turn their part of the business into a real-time business, which, believe me, that's exactly what they want and need. So anyway, I appreciate your time. We'll see you more at the one-on-ones and the workshops, so thank you so much.